First of all, I want to thank everybody for getting together and volunteering to serve on this committee. It's a committee that could really help folks in town, and we hope that it will. Our charge, my place in the committee is just simply to kind of kick things off. Diane's our chairman. I will be available through invitation if I need to come at other times, but it's up to you guys to do the work. And hopefully that work will be a productive result in being able to lower or to modify or to make it easier. Maybe that's a better goal for folks to be able to pay their water bills and pay them on time. I think there's been a lot of discussion about water rates and billings and sewer rates, and hopefully you'll get into a lot of these things and be able to kind of pick them apart one at a time and see if there's anything we've overlooked. Just to give everybody a history of where we are and what we've come to, is that back in 2010, at the 10th anniversary of our wastewater treatment plant, we decided to restructure the water rates to eliminate a fee that was being charged to everybody, regardless of whether they used water or not. Any property owner that had water service was charged a fee. This was kind of an onerous fee because the person that used the least amount of water paid the same amount of fee as the person who used the most amount.
How much was it?
It was $30 a quarter is what it amounted to. And that was a fee that the Maryland Department of Environment insisted that we charge when we completed the renovations of our wastewater treatment plant back in 2000. And we didn't like it at the time, but it was the only way we could structure our debt load in order to retire the debt that we were obligated to pay because of this renovation of this wastewater treatment plant. And the wastewater treatment plant did need renovating. It was in a floodplain, and there was a lot of other issues that were problems. But anyway, we ended up charging this fee. For 10 years, we heard people complaining about, we don't want to pay this fee, we don't pay this fee. So we eliminated the fee. We had a study group that was formed in 2010 to come up with ways that we could better structure the water rates, and that would eliminate having to pay this onerous fee that people didn't like. So we eliminated that fee. So we reduced our water rates effectively in 2010 by however many dollars that generated. I can't tell you how much that was yet, but we could probably get that number. And the council at the time, or the study group, recommended that rather than try to recapture the revenue that this fee generated in one fell swoop, that we break it down over a period of years. And we gradually increase the water rates each fiscal year by a certain amount until we were back to parity, until we had that fee recovered and that our wastewater treatment plant was operating on its own. That's kind of a footnote. That's one of the things that's required. Our wastewater treatment plant, our utility department, is a enterprise fund, which means that it has to stand on its own. The fees that are charged for the services that it renders has to pay for the cost of operating the facility or the department. And that means it has to be able to pay the expenses that go along with it, as far as the salaries and the maintenance and the supplies and the debt load. So all of these things are wrapped into this and into the fees that we charge with the wastewater treatment plant. So our goal is to take a look at these fees, and well, I'll get ahead of myself. So each year since 2011, beginning with the fiscal year 2011, we've increased water rates to a point to where we're close to parity. And this formula was developed by a bond consultant named that we paid a lot of money for, to try to come up with what we needed to do to structure our debt so that we could meet the satisfactory payback requirements that the state had outlined. And that's where we are today. The fees that go into the budget each year are fees that have been developed over a course of time. Currently, we're subsidizing the water and sewer department with this year's budget by about $50,000 out of savings. When we raise the fees next year, if everything is according to plan, that deficit will probably, I'm sorry.
Who subsidized what?
Subsidize the costs of operating a wastewater treatment plant.
Who did?
By about $50,000. In other words, we're taking it, rather than have that whole $30 per household fee charged once, we're bringing it over a course of time. So we're gradually increasing the rates over the course of time. And as we do, we're replacing the funds that $30 once generated.
Okay.
Okay? But in the meantime, we still have to pay the bills.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're taking it out of savings. We're taking it out of our reserve funds in order to pay these bills. Right now, we're subsidizing that by $50,000.
Okay, who's
Question, the city savings account.
Okay, all right.
I have a question. Can you hear him better if you sit here?
No, I don't think so.
So
Okay.
that's
It's just
essentially
that
what
when
we're
you
doing.
said subsidizing I didn't know who
We the people of Taneytown,
Okay.
the taxpayers.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Can I ask you
when
a
say
question, Jim? How, $50,000 per year, right?
we. Well, that's this year. It's been more in past years.
Okay, so let's just say that nothing's been done and you continue to do that. How long could you afford to do that?
Not indefinitely. I mean,
Right.
the problem is that not only are we subsidizing the utility department, the wastewater treatment department, we're also subsidizing the general fund. Because we've not had any growth, we've not had any new taxes that have come into the picture.
Yeah.
And
aware of that.
we'll talk about the budget in a minute, but we have been, since the onslaught of the recession back in 2008, we have been subsidizing the budget considerably more each year, okay? Now, hopefully, we see light at the end of the tunnel. There's a glimmer of hope on the horizon. Construction will start, new taxes will come in, new water sewer hookups will be generated, and some of this pressure on our what some people call a rainy day fund, which it's been raining for many years now, and will kind of go away, and we'll be back to normal, and we'll be back to a point where we can actually have a little bit of surplus at the end of the year. Right now, we're not generating any surplus based on the tax revenues, based on the fees that we charge. So that's our struggle. So when we look at the water sewer rates, we can't really afford to dip any deeper into those funds. That's the challenge. What we need to do is if we're going to lower water and sewer rates, which is a noble goal, and maybe there's ways through efficiencies or through payment structures or through whatever, you guys, the sky's the limit as far as your ability to come up with ways of doing things. If there's ways that we can discover to lower those water and sewer rates, there's also got to be ways we need to recover the income that those water and sewer rates we're going to produce. So I know there's been talk about the number of late payments that are involved and the fees or the fines that we charge on those. That's something that should be discussed. It's obviously designed as a penalty to make people pay on time, but yet some people can't pay on time. Simple as that. one of the things that came up at the first meeting that I was particularly attracted to was the idea of a budget payment plan. This is something that all utilities do. We really offer that now, but it's kind of on a as-needed basis. When you get in trouble, then we kind of tell you about it. But what it should be done, in my opinion, again, this is something for the committee to decide. In my opinion, it is something that we ought to be offered as a norm. If somebody can pay, I mean, it's a lot easier for me to pay my fuel oil bill every month rather than try to pay a $1,500 bill in January and a $200 bill in July. It makes it a lot simpler. So that could be something we could talk about as an alternative to ease some of the pressure. Again, and if there are ways to cut fees because we see some kind of glaring omission in the way that we're doing business, if we could do something more efficiently, we could save money that way. Well, look at those kind of things. Don had mentioned the idea of using sustainable energy, particularly solar energy. We've investigated that. In fact, we have been investigating that. I talked to several people down at the Maryland Municipal League Conference about this, and Henry has been one-on-one with one of the representatives and has some more details that he'll be able to present to you in the future. But on the surface, it looks like we can save about 10% on the electric bill, which is kind of good, I guess, but we got to realize, is the juice worth the squeeze? I mean, how much land are we going to have to occupy with solar panels to generate this 10% savings? So those are the questions that need to be answered. So I think a good, again, there's no limit on what you can do as far as creativity and creative thinking. But I think one of the things that we have to remember is that, again, if we reduce funds, we got to replace funds. We can't dip any further into the piggy bank, because sooner or later the piggy bank's not going to be available, and then we're going to be faced with raising property taxes, and that's something I've insisted that I wouldn't do for the whole time that I've been on the council and as mayor. I mean, I've never voted for a property tax increase in 30 years. I'm proud of that, because I think we can continue to look at ways to operate efficiently. And another goal that I have in the future is that once we solve our water and sewer problems, I'm going to try to look at the overall city government and see if there's ways that we can increase efficiency in that through analyzing the things that we do, the services we render, and decide if we really need them or not, or if we can do them more efficiently. So all those things are coming up. No one wants to reduce costs to the taxpayer more than I can assure you that. But we've got to be practical and got to be pragmatic, and we got to understand that if we take a dime out of this pot, we got to put a dime back in that pot in order for it to equal out. Angelo sent out or provided the council with an excellent format, I think, to kind of govern this committee. I think if you use this short format that he prepared last week, and I think Diane's got a copy of this for you, it will kind of set the guidelines as to what parameters we can look at. And basically, it's, find out how much money we're generating, find how much debt we have to pay off, and project that out over the next 4 or 5 years, and come up with a recommendation. I think a recommendation that you can bring to council and have council vote on it, yes or no. We've looked at this, and this is what we think we ought to do, and this is how you do it. And if it meets that criterion, then I think council could support it. But again, the bottom line is we just can't act like the government in Washington and spend more than we got. We gotta we can only spend what we have available. And that's gonna be the trick of the whole thing, so. Anybody have any questions? Diane, I'll let you take over.
No, okay.
And I'll sit in for a few minutes and then I gotta go to another meeting, so.
Okay. All right, everybody has introduced themselves. So first thing that I want to do is pass out the ground rules for our committee.
Ground rules, you mean no fighting? No fighting?
No fighting.
Oh darn. No temper tantrums?
And if necessary, would you like to see a copy?
Yes, I
Okay.
will.
If necessary, I'd like everybody to have them at every meeting so that we can remember. I put a little agenda together not knowing which way today we would exactly go. The mayor has done his presentation. So the next thing that I wanted to do is to get some structure of the committee. As the mayor said, I'm going to be the chair. And I'd like to ask Joe to be our recording secretary, if you don't mind.
I will certainly give it a shot.
Thank you. And the next order is our individual work assignments. The mayor did mention that Angelo gave us an outline for how to proceed with the actual lowering of the water rates. He explained what they would be. This has to have, as the mayor mentioned, numbers associated with it. Project what our debt is over, I use the word strategic, so I'm going to say that's 5 years. And a method for paying it while reducing rates. That has to have figures attached to it. Here's a copy of that outline. Now, the first item, document the total debt, interest, financial obligations of the utility fund. These figures we will have to get from staff. And should Bobby Joe be our first point of contact?
Yeah.
Our first point of contact for that will be Bobby Joe. Now, I would not like all of us going to her on this. This is,
Who's Bobby Joe?
Bobby Joe is our treasurer.
Okay.
You know, just a
Of the
thought, you know,
council?
as things,
The city treasurer.
City, okay.
just a thought, you know, as things come up, and we're gonna need definitive numbers.
Right.
And we considered having a staff member actually sit ex officio in presence with this committee, and we didn't think it was necessary, but that it may become necessary. So you make that call in the future if you want to. But I think that if you, after your discussions, if you come up with issues that you need defined, like how many people were past due on their water bills last month, something of that nature, then you, the chairman, can contact Bobby Joe and get that information for the next meeting
Right.
or
That's what I thought. I thought I'd start by whatever we need initially. I will contact her and get the information. As it gets more detailed and we need on-the-spot answers to questions, I may have to ask her to sit in, but I don't want to interrupt her schedule by asking her to be here regularly. She has work to do. So as much as I can, I would not like to do that. So anything we need, I will go to her and try to get that information. This is mostly Don's initiative. While he's not here today, I'll make him aware that this is the way that we're going to do it. I'll send him an email if he doesn't actually make it here today. And I guess he's going to be the lead on that assignment.
Lead on what assignment, sorry.
The assignment for this document of outlining the water and sewer rate reduction. But I'll be sending him an email.
Can I step back a moment?
Sure.
In a sentence, what's the objectivity and mission of this committee? You mentioned, or I wrote down, to pay water bills on time. Is that the mission?
Would you like me to answer that, Jim? I would say probably that at least part of the mission is to try to reduce the water sewer rates for our town's citizens, or to mitigate the impact that those fees have. However, we do have to consider that if we're reducing those rates, we must find a way to continue to pay the existing debt that the town has. Because we can't just take out and not put something back. We have to continue to raise money. I mean, if I'm understanding Jimmy right, the fund for our public utilities stands alone. I mean, we have certain boxes that we put our funds into, okay? For example, let's say that our town, the cleanup crews, they're one box. Or say, our staff, the staff here in town, that's one box. That comes out of another fund. And our water sewer stands alone too. So, and you can't reach in one account to pay the other. That's not, according to accounting principles and practices, that is not something you do.
What I
I
heard
think
you say-
the main objective is this committee is this outline that I gave you.
Could I even go one step further? I would say that, in my opinion, the objective of this committee would be to offer any kind of relief we could to people through whatever
Exactly.
method. To sum it up as
Exactly.
Yes,
That's
yes.
perfect. You both said that right. It's not only to reduce
Yeah.
water sewer rates. It could be. That could be one of the ways we could help the people, but we might be able to help them out doing other things by
Exactly.
structuring their water bill payments differently, as I
Exactly.
mentioned, or by some other effort. Maybe they can, maybe somebody can pay on, I don't know. Any way that makes it easier for people to pay their water bill is something that should be looked at. If it can benefit somebody by easing that burden. The bottom line is that the general fund, let me just clarify this for everybody. The general fund operates everything else. There are enterprise funds, that is, funds that are operated because of the fees that they charge. The wastewater treatment plant is one of those. And the general fund is subsidized by property taxes. That's the folks that's the check we write every month, or twice a year to the county, that includes taxes for the county and taxes for the city. And they provide things like police service, and they provide things like sweeping the streets and picking up your trash and all the other stuff that the city does for you. The wastewater treatment plant, however, is a standalone enterprise, i.e. the enterprise fund. And the services that performs, that is removing your wastewater and returning potable tap water to you, costs money. And in order to pay for cleaning up that wastewater before we dump it into the creek, and in order to make sure that the tap water coming out of your faucet is safe to drink, we have to do certain things. And for that, we calculate how much all those things are gonna cost, and we come up with a fee. And that's where this Davenport group that I mentioned a minute ago helps us. This is a professional organization that's designed to do these kind of things. And you pay them a lot of money for their professional consultations, and they come up with it and say, this is based on what you just told me, this is what you need to charge for your water and sewer fees. So that's how we got there. That's why we're charging the fees that we charge. We just didn't pull them out of the air. We just didn't say, well, let's try this and see how that works. We came up with a rather expensive formula to determine how much what our fees should be. That's bottom line, and that's what we're looking at. So we don't want somebody subsidizing the wastewater treatment plant by their property taxes. That's something that not only don't we want it, we can't do it legally. We've got to let the enterprise fund stand on its own. So.
Jackie, are you still a little confused because
There seems to be different ideas. I understand what both of them are saying, you know.
There are different ideas. I think you're having the same issue that I had in the beginning. There's two missions here.
Okay.
And I keep saying this is one. We could spend our whole time coming up with this. But then you want relief for the citizens as well. That's a whole nother issue. There are two functions of this committee. Initially, I wanted to be two committees. The mayor decided it would be one.
They're related though. You might find that
You know, I think that
one or the other is not possible.
I think that we almost have to split us in half to do this.
Well, I mean, if it's all under the umbrella of offering relief, I mean, lowering the water and the sewer rates would be one of a number of possible ways to do that. I'm not necessarily sure that requires breaking us apart into two committees, maybe like a subcommittee or something, but...
That's what I meant when I said, you know.
Well, what I hear you saying is that we have to have balance here between the money coming in and the money going out. There has to be balance. And during this time, can we give some relief to some of our residents? I don't need relief. Probably nobody at Carol Vista needs any relief. I know a couple of people that are really moaning, but they really throw the money away over here. And they don't want to pay a water bill. Say, well, water is essential. I say, too bad. They could, like the city has to do, they could give up some of their goodies and pay their water bill. So that's what I hear you saying, is that we gotta have balance here.
You're right, that's the key.
Well, question, Jim. Okay, as of the next water sewer bill, the rates are increased by, what, 30%? Is that right?
I'm not sure what percentage it was. Do you remember?
It was in the 20s.
It wasn't 30%.
I think it was closer to 25, I think.
Okay, I'm just asking. And that's for the entire water sewer, the water and sewer, okay. So, did the state mandate to the town when we would start charging this fee,
Well, the fee that we eliminated was required
Right.
at the completion of our wastewater treatment plant back in
Right,
2007.
but I think what I'm asking is, when is the state saying that we have to start paying this?
Oh, we are paying it. We're paying it right along.
Okay,
And we have a bond, a municipal
Uh-huh.
bond that has funded this project.
Uh-huh,
And it requires a certain amount of debt payment per year,
okay,
or we're in default. So we make that debt payment.
okay.
And we get the funds to make it from the rates that we charge.
Okay, so so the town actually floated this bond, is that right?
No, we have borrowed this money.
You borrowed the money, and you have to pay it back.
The municipal
And the
bond.
state doesn't tell us how to pay it back, we
Right.
determine that.
Right,
The state has nothing to do with that.
yeah,
It's like, we borrowed the money, we gotta figure out how to pay
As
it.
long as they get their check every year.
Yeah.
they don't care.
They don't
Yeah, they're the investors, yeah, they're investors. Yeah, I've worked in mortgage servicing, so I know what you mean. I was just wondering, like, but there's no way, I was thinking, well, maybe if we didn't have to start paying right away, we could sort of put off the increase for another quarter, but obviously we can't.
We have an X number of dollars we gotta pay every year. And that's the dilemma. That's why you can't do that. And again, it would be different if we were showing a little surplus. Maybe if we were getting 10%, collecting 10% more than we were spending, we could say, well, let's reduce it to 5%. No, we ain't. We're still in the red. So
That's not what I heard Angelo say. He said we got lucky and we got this year. We got lucky and brought in more than we needed at the last
He
council
said,
meeting.
yeah, he said we had a surplus, but that doesn't necessarily mean that,
At the end of the period, you'll
Yeah.
still have it.
yeah.
Right, surpluses are not bad, because, again, I mentioned we were subsidizing the fund by $50,000. If we hadn't had a surplus from past years, we wouldn't have had that $50,000
Right,
to subsidize it. So, you need to have surpluses once in a while.
I understand.
But we haven't had any for the last 8 years, so that's the problem.
And you gotta kind of hold it over for the
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
year.
Just like you have your bank account, and you can't go out and blow that entire bank account, in one fell swoop. You've got to budget it over, if you say, well, I know I've got this many more years to live, I need to budget that money, so that if I, need something, it's there,
You're right. That works the same way as your
Yeah,
own
yeah,
budget.
it's just like any other
That's the way the city's,
accounting budget. It's got to be, yeah,
we have to have a balanced budget. It's required by law,
Yep.
just like the state budget has to be balanced. But we can't,
just like the federal budget should be balanced, but it never is.
that's right, we can't.
I don't think the
Come up
GA
short.
does anything.
So there's gonna be a lot of paradigms, I mean, you can't, when it comes to spending money, I know when I have a home, I have certain bills that I have to pay.
Absolutely.
And I'm not so sure that we won't get into that as to not really analyzing, but auditing or scanning some of these late water bills. Are they repeatedly? I think we need to get into that too. If they're repeatedly, why? There may be a malfunction in the house or the old water system and so forth. So it's a big gamut. It really
Yeah,
is.
there was one thing that kind of crossed my mind. It's just like,
Well, again, the idea of being proactive and helping people pay their water bills, I think is maybe the key to this whole thing. I think the fact, we really work with everybody that comes through our door that's having problems with their water bill. There's not, I don't know of an exception to that statement. If somebody's coming in and saying, look, I got an $800 water bill, I don't know what happened. I must have had a leak. I don't know, I can't pay this all at once. Then we'll let them pay it over a period of time. And that's never been an issue, never has been an issue. But I think what the problem is we're putting out fires rather than preventing fires. And I think that may be a key to what this committee comes up with, is to try to come out how we can be more proactive to the folks that are having trouble paying their water bills. If we can lower the water bill, that's fine. But if we can't, how can we be proactive to make less of an impact on that individual that's struggling? They're the two questions you have to ask. If you can lower, if there's a way to lower it, that's a good idea. But if you can't, if we come up with, I don't see how we can lower it, because we got to, again, he said, take it out of one punch, got to put it back in. So how do we make it more user-friendly? How can we make it more convenient or have less impact on the family that's got 3 or 4 or 5 kids and mom and dad are both working and they're struggling to make ends meet? Gail's got a deep background working with nonprofits and social service agencies, and I encouraged her to be on this committee to bring that expertise with her. So that'd be something that will be shared in future meetings, I'm sure. So that's, again, creativity is your byword. Just, to think of ways that you can do it. I certainly hope we can come up with, oh, look at this, if we were doing it this way instead of that way, we could save everybody $50 a month. Well, that would be the answer to prayer, but I'm not sure that that's there. We'll have to say.
Well, I know one hole we could plug, maybe in 3 months. It would take a concerted effort. We have 217 meters that aren't working correctly. And the reason they're not working correctly is they don't have a working battery. Now, to let that go on and on 6 and 7 years, I think that's being negligent, and we ought to close that gap immediately, because if we don't know the correct money coming in, there's no way we can come up with a plan to give relief to people.
Oh, I strongly agree.
One of the things we could do is, if the city doesn't have employees that can go to house and get these people in to get their meters read, maybe we could have pairs of volunteer citizens, give them the address, go to the house, and get these 217 or whatever it is now, get them lined up and get those meters in within 3 months or 6 weeks, or set a time limit and plug that hole.
I think
Well,
that's an
that's
excellent idea.
that's a good
How
suggestion.
did you find
It's
out?
already something that's coming out of the committee.
But we need to hurry it up.
Yeah,
I don't disagree one bit with what you say. We have been negligent on the city's part, in my opinion, in notifying the people who have bad meters. Now, the city manager says, oh, well, we print right on the bill that your battery's bad, schedule an appointment. Well,
people
nobody
don't. You know what?
reads that. That's
Yeah,
the
you know what
problem.
I do?
Or they say, well, shoot, why am I gonna go in there and pay more than I'm paying right now? I'll just keep quiet, I'm not gonna say anything. And it goes on for 2 or 3 years.
That's right, it's Taneytown's job to see
then the
those
day
are brought up
reckoning
to
comes.
snuff. Because when I get my electric bill, I get so much junk in there. All I do is open it off the bill, say, I pay it. And there might be something in there that says we'll lower your bill, but I wouldn't know it, because there's so much junk in there.
Well, you're right. So those are the kind of things that we need to think about. Right now, the girls in the office, when somebody comes in to pay their electric bill or gas
And water.
water bill, if they notice on the ticket that they've got a problem with their meter, they'll bring it to their attention and try to schedule that appointment. But the problem with that is, not everybody comes to the window to pay their bill.
Right.
No, that's true.
It's our job to go to them, nail them down.
I think Barbara's onto something here, and also talking about, whether or not people actually read the bills that come out. I think another thing that we can act on immediately, right, would be maybe with the next bills that come out, we send out a letter attached to it or some kind of flyer attached specifically to the bill that says, if, we understand people are having problem paying these bills, and if you want to contact the office to set it up so you can pay this over the next 3 months, that's a possibility, right? I mean, it could be about the size of the water bill itself. The bill could be stapled to the back of the flyer so that they would have to see the flyer to get to the water bill. But then at the same time, we can also say, we know that there are meters that are not working. Check your bill today to see if you have one of those meters. And then contact the city office immediately.
I think it's an excellent idea, but I can see one problem with that, and that's the postage.
Well, it is.
Anything we do is gonna cost money,
Yes.
so you gotta bite the bullet.
Yeah.
So I think if we can at least jumpstart people in some kind of action or let them know that they have these possibilities. I mean, a couple of cents we send out for a postage stamp versus,
Right.
somebody not making a payment on time and getting fined. I think it's a good trade-off.
There's another thing, I'm wondering how you guys would feel if you said that, okay, and this would, again, you have to look at income, because there could be people who make 70, 80, 90,000 a year who just say, I'm just not gonna pay my bills, But if you take some of these people who are working moms and have lots of kids, and they're below a certain income limit, and you can determine that, you might consider giving an amnesty for back bills and fines, or at least for the fines. Say, okay, as of this, you're back, your fines are forgiven. That doesn't mean that this is gonna happen all the time, but we're gonna forgive your fines. Here's what you have to do. You bring us your 3 most recent pay stubs. We'll look at it.
That's a suggestion. That's the kind of stuff we need to be talking about.
Which raises a question right away for me to ask of our treasurer, of those fines. What does that money do, So that's one question I already have.
It's not, I think.
Before we can give amnesty, we have to know what is that money going to.
Right, but, and then again, how much is in your receivables that is fines? How much of that money is actually fines?
Yeah, well, we've got that separated.
Another thing that came out during a council meeting from Don, and I don't know how we do this, he mentioned that people were hooking up hoses in back of houses.
I understand.
And I don't understand that, and I want to know what's going on
I
there.
don't know how, but I know that down in Fairgrounds Village, that is going on. And
I don't understand how that solves anything.
Well, somebody's paying that water.
Because somebody's paying it.
Right.
Well,
If I let my neighbor hook up a hose and use my water, then my water bill goes up.
Yeah.
I have no clue how they're doing that, or if it's actually.
Yeah, so I need to know if that's actually happening, and like I said, and I don't see how that's solving it.
It'd be an urban legend.
Well, that's, yeah,
Well, and
that's sort of like Bigfoot, right?
I don't know how we find that out, is that really happening?
I don't know, you might need an
Well,
inspector to come
if
back.
Don has spoken to these people, we can certainly ask Don to speak to them again and find out.
Yeah.
If people aren't doing that, I think that certainly belies how desperate people are to save money on the water and the sewer rates.
But how does that save any money? It's not saving anybody anything.
It's not saving you.
Somebody's paying.
Somebody's paying it,
Yeah.
the water's being used. That's why I couldn't really get my arms
Yeah,
around
I
what's
agree.
going on there,
Kinda,
if it's going on.
Well, something else happened this last Saturday for the first time. I guess I've just not noticed things, but up at Kenny's, they've got a water deposit that they go up on the outside from the front door on the right coming out. And people were taking milk jugs or that size gallon, and for 30 cents a gallon, they get water, drinking water.
Really?
Now, I saw one girl use 4
From Kenny's?
from Kenny's. But now, I'd like to know, Kenny's paying a bill, or what, is that it? Or
Kenny's is paying the bill then.
Yeah, I would think.
Kenny's is trying to be very proactive in this
Yeah.
community.
Like you said, the water's being used, so somebody's paying.
That's right, and this one girl filled up her SUV with 4 milk cartons, which carried, she had 4 gallons in each one. So I'm thinking 16 times 30 cents, now, is she
30
saying
cents for a gallon of
4 gallons?
water?
That's drinking water.
Drinking
It
water.
specifies drinking
We're a
water.
lot cheaper than that.
And that's what I wanted to
Yeah.
know, and why are they doing that?
To make money.
Needed.
No, I know why Kenny's is doing it, but I mean, why are these people taking the
Because they're
inconvenience?
not, it doesn't, it doesn't compute.
I was gonna say that
Understand
does
what I'm
not compute.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
We're
not
If you have to go down to the pond or go without water, you'll pay 30
80
cents
cents per
instead of
individual per
$1.25 per
water
gallon of
service.
drinking water.
And it
It
calculates
makes
it by,
total sense
say,
to me.
250 gallons per individual.
This is assuming they're not
So
drinking the
you get
water that comes
250
out of
gallons
the
plus you treat the water,
Maybe they have no water.
80 cents.
Maybe
Well, that-
they're
I'm
using
wondering-
this as their total source of water.
That's a
That's
possibility.
a possibility, if they're using it as their total source.
We gotta get out of our Carol Vista mindset and get into the mindset of people who are desperate or very needy.
Yeah.
And they're there, they're out there.
Yeah, they are.
Barbara, please don't
I work with-
refer to us that way. I'm tired of
Ava?
the town and people referring to us
I'll be
that
back.
way. We all
If you need me.
came from,
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Alright,
Okay, I won't
Yeah,
anymore, but
I
I
mean,
thought that. we had-
everybody out there wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouths.
I understand that.
You understand that, I understand that, Jackie understands that. And I'm tired of people referring to us that
But when
way.
you're in town, they don't understand that.
And that is not the way I think.
That's why I got in.
But it is true
Involved
that people
with the
that live
city.
in most Carol Vista residents have a
So
lot
I
of money.
could get to know the residents.
Oh, I've had my water cut off years ago when I had
was gonna
5,
say,
6 children.
yeah, I've been there.
I know what it is.
When I
so-
lived in Baltimore, I know what all this stuff is. And I resent when people think that I have a Cal Vista mindset.
Well,
I
let
don't
me tell you,
think
I
Barbara
live
had
You
right
know,
next to
I worked
Jimmy.
hard for what I had.
I live right next to Jimmy, and you would think that people look at that house and think, oh my God, they must be absolutely rolling. Not even. I mean, we're on Social Security,
Yeah,
so,
fixed income.
yeah,
And
So-
that's it.
we women didn't make the money that
That's
the
right.
women today are
That's
making,
right.
so.
I mean, Dee is working at Kenny's to supplement.
Yeah. So it's
Of course, he
important
likes it
that
when
we
it
get
gets
to
from
know
the
the
top
town
members.
people and they get to know us. That's what I feel.
Well, I think that basically there's a good representation here. I know Joe lives down near Fairground, right?
On Grand Drive by, towards the elementary school.
Yeah.
Which
Do you
is
live in
nice
one of the
housing.
interfaith housing homes?
Nope.
No,
I'm just past those houses.
just past.
220 Grand Drive, corner of Courier and I'm sorry, Cambridge and
Going
Grand.
to Trevelyan.
I'm sorry?
You're not far from Trevelyan.
Nope. I'm about a
Oh,
block.
okay, you're in that Trevanian Terrace development.
What's that called?
I have no idea what that development is.
I mean, because the interfaith housing, those are
Well, it's-
all my clients.
Well, you've got the townhouses, and then the
Yeah.
Grand Drive kind of curves, and then you have the interfaith housing, and then you have the original neighborhood
Yeah,
from Grand
right,
Drive, and that's
right.
right. But yeah, I also think that, we have a good mix too.
But yeah, that's a good representation, because you're down there and I think that you probably would have your ear more to the ground down there.
Oh, I hear from a lot of neighbors and people in that area regularly.
And I think Don lives you all live over in Meadowbrook, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where we live.
Okay.
There's people who can't afford my water bill.
Well, there are people in Meadowbrook who are interfaith housing clients. because Interfaith Housing did some housing.
And I think it's irrelevant whether you can afford it or you can't. I think
Afford what?
the water bill or not. I don't think that's relevant.
Why?
I think that the town should be trying to have the water rates at a rate that is a reasonable rate, period. It doesn't matter whether you can afford it or not. And they're not.
Well, then, how would you implement that? Why don't you sit over here? So
Wait a minute.
I'm not on the committee.
She's not on the committee.
Oh, okay, I thought she was speaking for Dawn.
No. Back to what we were discussing, I had a point about, the monthly water bills. I don't know if you captured it, Joe. The mayor said that they already have a plan for people to pay monthly. To that, I wanted to add a budget billing plan that's spread out over
Well,
time.
I meant not necessarily that we would enact them, but we would let people know this was available.
Right,
I
but
think
this
that's-
is something that I want the committee to recommend, budget billing plan.
Definitely.
It's different than monthly.
Is that something we could vote on today, recommend and bring it up?
We're not, okay, that's another thing. I don't see this as a voting committee.
Okay,
We're just going to discuss and brainstorm ideas and, to some extent, try to figure out the validity and that they make sense. And we're gonna put it all together in a report to council. What they adopt is to council. But this committee's mission is to bring ideas. We're not going to vote on anything. We're gonna brainstorm things. And as a committee, decide that it makes sense or doesn't make sense. It could work, or we think it couldn't work, whatever.
and I think kind of you have to divide these things into like short-term, what can we do short-term to provide relief? And then what can we do over the say a 6-month period to a year to provide more relief? Like I know I've thought of some ideas, and I know to Councilman, you got those in an email, right? But I think that's the first thing, is to say, okay, short term, like the idea of budget billing, I think is an excellent idea. You take their water bill, you average it out,
Exactly.
and you say, okay.
I pay my electric bill that way. I pay on the
Right.
budget plan.
Right, exactly. And I don't see any reason why you can't say, okay, this month, okay, from now we're going to average your bill and you pay it this way. And it is easier for a lot of people.
Now, my question, okay, I agree with you there, but who's gonna figure out all this monthly, is that gonna be
That's
an
gonna fall.
additional partner?
That's going to
or
be
is it-
additional work for staff.
And you
And
know
I don't
what that
mind
means
volunteering for
council.
that. I mean, I have a strong.
That is why I said we come up with these ideas and we take them to council. Council will have to decide. In this case about the budget billing, they'll have to decide if they want to put that extra burden on the staff.
Yeah.
Can the staff handle it?
Well, if it's done once a year, it's not gonna be done every month. It's only gonna be
No,
done
somebody will
once.
have to sit down, like Gail says, average out their bill over a year
You just put
and
it in
say
an
it
Excel
comes
spreadsheet.
it comes to this much a month. And then though, at the end of the year, it has to be reassessed. I know that's the way my
Right.
electric bill goes.
Exactly.
Based on how much water you used, and if you used less, then going forward, the budget is less, and if you use more, going forward, it's more.
They may have a program that they can do
Yeah,
that already.
Here's another idea, short term, we could think about.
The thing is probably set up more than anything else. Once it's set up,
Yeah,
it shouldn't take too many man hours to
Or
keep
some
that
big
going.
program.
Right.
Exactly. There's two things, I mean, Dee and I are really, really into conservation and carbon footprints. There's two things that I think we could see if we could get rain barrels, and we buy them for a certain cost and we sell them to people at 10% over. But that's assuming that we can get them cheaper than, say, Gardner Supply or Lowe's or something like that. However, we can go to Lowe's. I'm a huge believer in ask and you shall receive. I've always done that, and I believe, and I'll tell you this too. This is how we got our supplies from Interfaith Housing, because I was able to go to Lowe's and I said, look, we will give you our business. We're going to build X amount of houses. If you provide us with the lumber packages, et cetera, you are doing, even if you give it to us at a less expensive price, you are making a lot of money. They did that. So we could possibly do something like that, or we could find a manufacturer who would do that.
I think that's being done in one of the municipalities.
County has a program.
Yeah,
Or they had a program.
It was a grant, and you could probably get a grant as well.
Probably,
And
yeah.
That's a great idea.
And the other thing is, we can't use gray water, can we?
You could sell
We
it.
can sell it. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, and I had no idea that this was possible. I stumbled across an article about this online. The NSA, companies like Dreyer's Ice Cream, will actually purchase, wastewater from towns, from counties, because it's cheaper for them to use than, clean water, right? And they do it to,
For making ice cream?
To run their equipment.
to run their,
To run their equipment.
the NSA, for example, cools their computers with wastewater.
Yes.
Dryers will use it to cool the ice cream, but not put it in the ice cream.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
That's an excellent thing. Let's think about that. And those are just short term.
And the mayor's just said last meeting, so far no one's come to ask to buy any. So they may not know we have it available.
Gotta sell it.
But we can, if we can
I
get
would-
Now, how
grants,
much it is,
I'll have to find out where they, I don't know. I know how to write the grants.
Yeah.
So if we can find where we go, Robin, maybe you can help me on that, to write a grant for rain barrels, we'll get rain barrels. The other thing going along with that, perhaps we can also get a grant for double flush toilets.
yeah, how many of these old houses have the newer,
We put them in. I mean, we're very, very, we live a lot like the
And we
Europeans
have,
live. And
or we're getting, the tablets that you put in your toilets to tell
to
if you
save
have
the
a leak.
leak.
or, oh,
The city has them for the asking.
okay.
Okay, so maybe that grant could include double flush toilets and the installation to go with them, water saving shower heads,
Yes.
stuff like that. Now, dishwashers, stuff like that, I don't think that's not gonna fly.
I think we could put out flyers as we come to the end of it, suggesting various things like this, because I'm not so sure people are aware.
However,
Putting a brick in.
I have another idea when it comes to the builders. So, but let's continue where we are. So short term, a budget and gray water and see if we can get a grant for rainwater.
And then Diane made a very interesting point about the tablets, letting you know that
Yeah.
you said they're available for the
Yeah, they
asking.
are available.
So that's
for the
something else
ask.
that would be a good idea to include on a notice.
Absolutely. So, short term. And Diane, if staff balks at doing that, I'm willing to come in and help or do it on my computer. To do all the preparing.
Okay, that's a little down the road. First, we gotta get council to agree to it, and then basically they'll have to do what we say.
Right.
But that's interesting to know.
I see, you might have, no, you don't. There was an article in Sunday's paper about saving water, in local paper. So,
Okay.
so-
Carroll County?
Yes,
Okay.
in Carrollton.
I got it still there.
Well,
Just
what
a
did
minute.
it say?
Let me see so I'll know when I see it. Trickle down theory.
Oh, yeah,
Have you read this?
I think I did.
Okay. In the kitchen, in the laundry room, in the
I
bathroom.
haven't a question.
There's
This is good.
Is it?
some of the young people don't stop and
Yeah,
think about
this is
that.
okay. Old too.
For the
Sand.
and stuff like that.
You know, honestly, I have no idea. I mean,
He mows every
imagine-
time he gets the bill.
I mean, and again, I have no evidence.
But you should see
I
what
would
he
imagine
does.
it probably wouldn't be too helpful.
You know, wasting water.
I mean, it's certainly something to look into.
Certainly it's-
You know, I just don't say anything
Rainwater
anymore.
to
I
water
just
your
let him moan
gardens.
and write the check.
It comes out of your laundry, or out of, you know.
Is it my turn yet?
Oh, Barbara,
I
I'm
was-
sorry.
But that's
I was here when the Davenport came in and gave.
Yes,
their
you
report.
were.
And they had 3 different plans for the city to choose
Mm-hmm.
from. Well, obviously you chose one. Is there a time that we might shift gears and use one of their other plans?
Actually, if my memory serves me correct, Barbara, we chose the one in the middle. We didn't choose the lesser plan,
Yeah,
and we didn't choose the higher one.
so you did the stair-step plan.
Right.
And what was the last one?
They did give us 3 options.
Yeah,
And I seem to remember we sort of went somewhere in the middle.
that's what I was kind of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But if along the line, could we switch to another plan?
Only, we wouldn't in midstream is the answer.
Because you paid for your product already.
Right, we wouldn't in midstream. We
Well,
would
it's
only
all-
do that if we had to, for some reason, reevaluate
You'd
what
have
we're
to write
doing.
a new
Right,
contract and all.
if we,
Well, it's all numbers.
right.
It's, the bottom line is, it's all numbers.
And basically, Barbara, Davenport doesn't really care what we do as long as we pay our bill.
Right, that's
You
right.
know, and what we're doing, you heard the mayor, is barely paying our bill.
Well, that's okay, we're paying them.
Well, the other thing is, we're expecting Meads down here to start breaking ground.
We can't expect them. It's, again, it's numbers.
When,
That's pie in the sky and it's all good. And if it comes, that's great.
why would it not? Or,
But Jackie, what were you gonna say?
Already?
Well,
Well, I was just thinking we're gonna grow, you know, so.
Eventually we are.
Yeah.
Well, the way
Yeah, I
that we've been
understand
budgeting the last couple of years is we've been anticipating 0 growth, right?
Exactly.
And so that if we end up with growth, it's, you know.
It's
the benefit.
great, right, because that's what we've been doing, Barbara, we've been anticipating 0 growth.
But we've had some growth, and when I asked the council, Angelo said it is, I said, doesn't this growth help you? And he said, no.
It's minimal. I mean, all you have to do is look at the real estate market. Nothing is selling. Foreclosure, I can't tell you how many foreclosures there are in this area. Nothing is selling.
I know where. I've been out and counted the houses. Since the Davenport, I've counted up over 40-some houses have been added here. I just drive around, I count them up.
Houses that have been built.
Yes.
Oh, I know, down here,
So I know there has been
what's this,
a little bit of
this,
growth.
there's down on Anacus, and they've got all these
But they have
expensive
their own
houses. I'm
wells.
wondering how many have been
No,
built.
they don't run city.
They're on city, okay.
But again, depending on, they can build all the houses they want, but people have to be able to afford them. You
Well, they're
can't,
all occupied.
I doubt it.
Now, there's a lot of, on out Taneytown Pike, there's a lot of empty ones.
Yeah.
Just recently, many of them have been refurbished, it looks like.
You're talking
Can-
about old houses,
can you-
I'm talking about
New
new
Do you know
ones.
how many new constructions? Do either one of you know how many new constructions have been added?
I can't give you a number, it's minimal.
Ballpark. Yeah,
I don't think, yeah, I think for some reason, I think there were, I want to say maybe 5 last year, I think.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm not,
very
I'm
little.
not, yeah.
So,
Maybe we could find that number out there.
I can.
okay, yeah, I was just wondering, because you're saying that there were 47 new constructions?
Since the Davenport report, I've
Oh.
been counting up new houses.
When was the Davenport report?
2010,
Oh, okay. So, okay, but that's, that's over 5 years, if you take.
Break that
that's like-
down,
That's like
nothing.
8 houses a year.
it's money
so-
coming in.
So-
You guys were set up for zero. I'm not saying it's a great thing. I'm
Yeah.
just saying we're
Well-
getting some movement.
Well,
And I guess what I'm saying is 40 houses over 5 years is zero.
pretty much.
You know, that's what I'm saying,
That's-
Barbara.
I mean, that's like, $80,000 in water sewer hookups for a year. That's kinda doesn't even, that's like a drop in the bucket. I mean, I understand it's a lot of money. I mean, if I had 80,000, I'd be happy. But, I mean, for town expenses, it's not a lot of money.
It's
But
wiggle room.
now, if you've got this developer over in Meadowbrook, do you have any idea of when he's gonna start or if?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Don't know when, and
But
he is still,
But you have the allocations.
right.
Okay. I think
You know, these developers keep asking for extensions,
why?
and we give it because nothing's selling.
No, that's because they're asking too damn much money. They can build a house that will sell under USDA guidelines,
God bless him.
and those houses will go. I think they have to be under, I think in Carroll County, they have to be under $260,000. So basically what you're looking at is about an 1,100 square foot.
You convince a developer to jump through USDA hoops.
I'll do it.
Or what's the market gonna buy?
When a USDA home, and really, the developer can do that. He doesn't have to be funded by USDA. The buyer comes in and buys the house, and there are certain things. They can't have bay windows, they can't have
Exactly, that's what I meant.
jacuzzis, they can't, things like that. But
That's what I meant by you convince them to jump through USDA hoops.
Well, we're
It's
getting
not
off
that-
track.
Yeah, and I want to sort of bring this to a close. I had anticipated that our meetings wouldn't last longer than an hour and a
Okay.
half. And I do have another meeting after this.
Okay.
So I want to bring this to a close for what our plan is going forward to our next meeting. I know, Joe, you said you couldn't be here
Yeah, I have.
next Tuesday.
Yeah, root canal.
But if you and I,
oh,
gosh.
enjoy.
Oh, absolutely.
If you and I could coordinate on your notes,
Yes.
and we can get them out to
I can go ahead and
everybody.
type these. When would you like me to have these to you by? I know I can probably.
Whatever's good for you, Joe. I know it doesn't take you long, so
I will,
however it works for you.
I can start working on them.
And you
tonight
and I, send them to me and I'll edit or look them over before they go out
Would
to
you like
everybody.
me to
Absolutely.
explore meanwhile about getting a grant for rain barrels?
Yes, please.
Okay, I don't do that. Gives my old brain something to do.
Okay. Will you have something for us at next meeting?
I would,
Okay, whatever you find out.
And I'd also like for the next meeting, and I guess I would email it to you because I wouldn't be here. I will create like a mock little flyer that could potentially go out with, you know, the
Awesome.
bills
Okay.
next quarter, and then it'll give us an idea of maybe what we wanted to say and how it would end up looking.
Okay,
I
great.
think that's a good.
I like your idea of having it the same size as the bill, so
Oh,
that it
yes.
can be stapled on.
But definitely in a color that.
Yes.
Like pink or fuchsia, something really.
I'm going to get these figures from the treasurer on how the late fees play into the overall picture. And Barbara, I'm going to see if I can find out about this growth. Just to, yeah.
Do you want me to do this about getting these see how many water meters are not working?
Okay.
Because they've been working on it, but
Who pays for that water
The
meter?
city, the
The city?
batteries, yeah, the city.
Are they expensive?
I don't know if I'm dreaming or not, don't quote me. Did I hear $40, $80?
$40, I think.
Does that sound
Yeah.
right? Okay.
$240. That's $8,000.
Wait, $40, not 200.
$40.
Yeah, but there's 200 houses.
Oh, okay.
That's how much?
You're right.
That would be $8,000.
Well, if it brings in $10,000 worth of correctness, or we get people that are not
And Barbara,
unhappy.
who you want to ask about that is Henry.
Henry, okay.
Yes.
I know, I have to talk to Henry about my water bill because he said he found something wrong with it. The other thing, when you check about the fines and everything, who is serious about trying to pay their fines and back water billing?
Okay.
And who just kind of blows it off?
I guess that would be kind of a situation where someone would have to come in and demonstrate that, you know, they're having difficulties, but then they've been trying to pay the bills.
Well, you could probably tell if there's payment in increments or something like that, you know. Or if it's been outstanding for, say, 3 months or 4 months.
Or if they're repeaters.
True.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm happy to be working with everybody. I'm looking forward to
Me
this.
too.